Rock Dude here.
Marky Z, and welcome to another Season 2 episode of the
Rockin'
Rockin'
House.
Today's special guest all the way from Sweden. We have Magnus Rosen. If you're not too familiar who he is, he's played with the who's who in the metal, hard rock scene. Probably best known for playing 10 years with Hammerfall, with some of their hits like Hearts on Fire and many others. Also has a new project, Shadow Side, with a girl that is fronting the band from Brazil. And, of course, he's got his Magnus Rosen band. And Rock Dude's got some more things to tell you about him because this guy is extremely versatile and an amazing musician besides a person.
If you want to talk about the world's greatest bass players, you want to take Billy Sheehan, you want to take guys like that, Magnus Rosen is right there with the best of the best. He's very proficient. And he actually incorporates things you don't see other bass players doing. He's a real innovator in bass playing. I really do like his Shadow Side band. They have a girl singer up front, fantastic. It's more like the American version of Evanescence, and that's a whole different thing. He put a spin on that because he has a girl singer up front, so he's always willing to try different things. And his current project, the Magnus Rosen band, is going to be a hard rock style instead of the traditional metal that he traditionally does. And he's just a nice ambassador for bass playing. He's the type of guy, in my opinion, never had a bad day. He's just a happy camper, and we love this guy, and we're glad that he's on the show.
And also, he's played with the Sweden Orchestra.
Oh, wait
That's
a minute,
insanity.
Mark. That's a big credit there, and he must be, their favorite son, so to speak, because when you get to do something like that, he played in the front of the Sweden National Orchestra as lead bass player. So
Never's been done ever in music.
I've never seen that before, and so he's versatile from jazz all the way up to classical music. So that's the type of musician this Magnus Rosen is, and everybody, I'm telling you, man, you got to get to know this guy. He's one of the best bass players out there, particularly if you like heavy metal. And like I say, he's been in bands with Tony Martin, who did the singing for Black Sabbath at one point, and Joe Lynn Turner from his solo projects, and we all go back and like the Rainbow thing that Joe did. So yeah, so he's in good company with people that he plays with, and yeah. So.
Absolutely. He's even working on a project right now with Tony Martin. You know, Tony Martin is, most you metalheads do know, the Headless Cross. Awesome album that Tony Martin was on. Now, I want to show you something before we bring Magnus onto the show. That this is a picture probably back in the 90s of him with the band Death, which is an awesome pioneer of death metal. They started that, and Chuck Schuldiner, of course. This is a picture of them. It's probably hard to see, but this is right out of Metal Edge magazine. Death and Magnus right there with Hammerfall. How awesome is that? So we're going to bring him on in just 1 minute, and he's going to tell you his story. So let's welcome Magnus Rosen to the Rockin' House. Welcome, brother, to the show. All right, this is Marky Z, and I'm with my partner, Rock Dude, and welcome to another awesome Season 2 episode with Magnus Rosen as our guest today, all the way from the north of Sweden. He's been in unbelievable amounts of bands, but I can name a few that you would be very, very familiar with. Hammerfall, maybe Shadow Side's another one. Welcome, Magnus, to the Rockin' House. We are so happy to have you on our show today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here on the Rock House show in Philadelphia.
Awesome, brother. Well, we're going to start about how Magnus started, how his life became where it is today. Well, that's to start somewhere. So let's go from the very beginning of you being a musician. You know, how did this all start for you? How did you get into bands? How did you get into national level bands?
I have this story to tell you.
All right.
Do you know, it started with a magic box. And some people don't believe magic boxes, but it's true, they are there. It was a box with woods and leather. And when you opened the box, you had a really good smell. It smelled wood and leather. Inside this box, it was a round the world ticket. And it's not many kids that get a magic box with this kind of ticket. It was only one clue with this ticket. It was I needed to understand how it worked. That day I understand that this ticket was guilty and could take me round the world. And of course, you already understand what it is. The ticket was of wood with 4 strings. And when I handled this, I traveled round the world for many times.
Awesome, man. So you basically started on the bass, and that's where
Yes,
you're at now. So this is your main instrument. You felt the
yes.
passion to go to that. How cool is that? And I loved how you explained it. I never heard anybody explain things like that about a bass and how it started. How cool. Okay, let's talk about some bands. Now that you're starting to play the bass, this is what you feel. You're feeling drawn to play, and you felt really good doing it. What are some of the bands that got you started getting into, that started getting you noticed playing that piece of wood with them 4 strings?
Yes. Do you know, when I was like maybe 15 or 16, I did my first vinyl single with a
Okay,
band called Shame. And it was a really cool band. And we were kids, you know.
nice.
And maybe 1 year later, when I was around 17, I got the opportunity to play professional with a quite big Swedish band called Kung Sune.
Okay,
And it was, I was like a hard rocker, but this was rock from the 50s.
okay.
And they were so big. So when we toured around Sweden, we had between 1,000 and 3,000 people in each concert. And
Nice.
that is big for a young guy like I was.
Oh yeah.
And when I did all these tours when I was so young, I felt this will be my life. So,
Nice.
so my dream, of course, was to play the hard rock music. That was what I grew up with.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I must say, I didn't got this job because I was not better than others. I was a happy guy. So they liked I was happy and I practice if I need to practice. And I was easygoing. So I understand quite early it's not the best musician that get all the jobs. It's good if you are good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's what kind of person you are. So are you a nice person? People will like you and they will open the door.
That's so true. You're right. If you're a nice guy and easy to work with, you're going to get the work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We and me and my partner have experienced that with several of the guests we had on the show. That's exactly right. Magnus, that's amazing. So, is there any name bands that we might be very recognizable that you started getting involved in after this band that you're talking about? That
Yes. Yes.
okay.
I,
So let's name some of those bands and talk about that.
yes. When I moved to LA, I
Okay.
was 26 years old.
Okay.
Then I played with a guy called Stuart Smith, and he played for a while with the band Sweet.
Okay.
And he
Sweet.
had,
Okay.
yeah, and he had a band called Midnight. So we were touring small tours all around LA.
Got it.
But it was fine, it was fun. And I met Anders Johansson there. And that is the drummer who played with Yngwie Malmsteen.
Right.
When he
Yes.
was big, he is still big, Yngwie's Yngwie, but they were really big in these times. And he just quit Yngwie Malmsteen. And for the moment when I met him, he played with Blue Murder with John Sykes. And
Nice.
this was a short period, but we find each other like good friends, and we were some Swedish people who shared an apartment, so
Sure.
we were roommate,
Ah,
you can say.
okay. Cool.
And we also got another nice guy who was moving into us, and it was Jörg Fischer from Accept. And
Nice.
That is the guitarist who played Balls to the Wall and the first albums with Accept.
Oh,
And
wow. That's amazing. I'm a big
yeah,
Accept fan.
and,
Absolutely.
and we had a band called Billionaire Boys Club. And it's really nice hard rock music. And you can find it on internet.
Okay.
Billionaire Boys Club.
Billionaires Boys Club. That name kind of sounds familiar vaguely to me. I think I've heard of that. Okay, so awesome. So like all these artists do, they step up the ladder with bands until they find the one band that they wind up sticking with. And I guess we can move on to Shadowfall. That's a big band a lot of people know about. A lot of metalheads, rockers know about that band. And you guys, were on the bill and whacking on the how many times? I believe you had a 10-year stint with Hammerfall. Is that right? Playing bass with them.
Yeah. So
How awesome was that?
when I start with Hammerfall was of course not famous at all. It was a garage band, you can say.
Okay.
In Sweden, we
Sure.
say you play in the garage.
A garage
And,
band. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
We call it that.
It was like a girl called Caroline Kratzke. I know her, and she was knowing Oscar and Joachim.
Oscar, okay.
And she heard that they need a bass player, they also need a drummer and a solo guitarist.
Nice.
So that was a few months before album Glory to the Brave was released.
Okay.
So we met in a coffee shop, and we never played with each other, but because I had quite long experience already then, they asked me over a cup of coffee, do you like to join the band? And I told them, I'm interested because I like the music, and let's try in the rehearsal room first.
Right.
So we fit each other.
Right, sure.
That's the important thing, I think. And
Oh, yeah.
1 month after the release of Glory to the Brave, we went to our first European tour with Tank and Raven.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome. And one of the first show we did, this was 1997.
Okay.
We played at Wacken Open Air before it was so big like it is today.
Right.
But it was big then too, but not so big like today.
Right. Wow. How amazing.
Yeah. And when our tour manager said, we're going to go to a record store because you're going to sign albums, I didn't understand what do you mean?
Wow, that's so cool.
I couldn't understand that people would like to have a signed album from us. So we went there, and when we arrived to the record store, I saw why we should come, because it was a line maybe 100 meters with people who was waiting for us.
Fans. You guys had fans, and you're like, oh, wow.
It was like that. I was so surprised, and I must tell you, the first 2 years, I couldn't understand why we got so famous.
Uh-huh.
I mean, now after, of course, I can see we had good songs, and we have a lot of energy when we played, and all 5 members really was rocking hard. And I think good songs and the spirit it's the key, I think.
I agree, and Hammerfall kicks ass as a metal band. They're awesome. I mean, the albums you were on, phenomenal. And, 10 years to play with them guys, you helped build their career even more because you were in the beginning. So how awesome is that?
Yeah, that is super cool.
I'll tell you what, we're going to come back with Magnus Rosen in just a minute and talk about some more awesome things he's done in his life. Again with Magnus Rosen, all the way from Sweden, from Hammerfall, Shadowside, his new band, Magnus Rosen Band. Magnus, unbelievable first segment we just discussed on how things started with you. How cool is that? Hammerfall, 10 years with them. They got some awesome songs. Hearts on Fire. What a great song. I love that song. Let's talk about some new things going on. Shadowside, you connected with this girl, I guess, from Brazil. Is that right?
Yes. Shadowside is a band from Brazil.
Okay.
Danny is the singer and it's her band, and
Awesome.
Rafael Matos is the phenomenal guitarist,
Nice.
and monster behind the drums is Fabio
Wow.
Buitvidas.
Nice.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Buitvidas. So I met them actually when they were on tour in Sweden with Halloween, and
Awesome.
I didn't know them, but they recognized me because I was walking behind the stage, and
Yep.
I was there because I know the guys in Halloween, and so they said Magnus, and I was of course a little bit surprised, and then we talked and it was nice, nothing more with that. Few years later, they should record the new album in Sweden. So they
Nice.
contact me and ask if I like to play the bass on the album, and I said yes, I can do that.
and this is Shadowside we're talking about.
Yeah, Shadowside. And then after I record this album, it maybe took 1 day and 1 hour or something. It went quite quick actually, and then they asked me to join the band, and I had nothing to do, and I liked them, so I said yes, I can play with you.
Awesome. So the chemistry was there. It worked.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty
Yes.
amazing. Awesome.
But-
So Shadowside is still around, right? You guys are still around, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we did like American tour, we did a Brazilian tour, we did a fabulous video in Florida
Wow.
with the song Alive, and it's almost like a small movie, actually.
Okay.
So it's out there.
Amazing. Okay, so Magnus, you've had some pretty cool experiences as a musician, and pretty fast it happened to you. Let's
Yes.
talk about your bass. You have a very unique looking bass, and the shape's even unique. Awesome. Those are definitely custom basses, and you're being endorsed by some company in Italy. Is that correct?
Yes. It's a bass called Manne,
Okay.
and it's like the name Manne.
Okay.
And you can check it out. It's manne.com. And the basis I have, it's 29 frets. So it's really,
Phenomenal.
and when you play a little bit crazy like I doing, you need all the frets.
You got that right. I've never seen nobody play bass like you. Phenomenal. Now it makes sense. You have 29 frets. That's so cool, man. So you got picked up, I guess, being with some of these bands that are well known, and they said, absolutely, we'd love to endorse you and give you basses as long as, you play them and have our name out there. So awesome. And how long you've been endorsed with this Mana band, this Mana company?
Actually, we in the beginning, I was endorsed through a company in Sweden, work with the money bases.
Okay.
And when this company was closing down,
Okay.
I asked Manne, how will we do it? And he said, we are a small company, so we have hard to give things for free to you.
Right.
But I said, I'm going to put your name out so long as I'm not endorsed with other people. I will go with that. And now we've had this kind of relationship for 10 years. So I always tag Manne, and they are really nice to me because I'm nice to them. So we have a good relationship.
Sure, and I can't help but notice in the background, I see a bunch of stuff on the wall there, or that's a reflection, and I can see stuff from Hammerfall. It looks like something from Accept. I mean, you got quite a roster of things you've done in your life, which we've been talking about, and there it is. It's pretty cool. All right, so you're endorsed by this bass, and it looks like you've been playing that bass for quite a while, because in Hammerfall, you have that bass. So I guess it started then, right? Is that when it started?
Yeah, in Hammerfall, we start with ESP, the first endorsement. Then I had Washburn for a long time. And then after Hammerfall, I got these money basses, and I used the bass when I play with like Tony Martin, the singer from
Tony Martin, absolutely. Yep.
I still play with him, and we will release a new album now. I also toured with Lynn Turner from Rainbow the Purple, and of course then I use my baby money bass.
That's amazing, man. Well, I know you love that bass because you're always playing it, and it seems like it's you, like you become part of it, and that is what it is. It's all about passion and feel and the connection. So awesome, man. So let's talk about the Magnus Rosen band. I know we got Shatterside, but let's talk about this new project. The logo looks cool. Let's talk about that, because that's what you're promoting now, is this new Magnus Rosen band now is your project. Yes. How awesome is that?
Do you know, I did like 10 solo albums, and I never released a rock album. Okay. I am a rocker, I love rock and roll, but I think it being a journey and adventure to see what I could do with my bass. So I did this quite extreme solo albums.
Nice.
It's nothing that sells a lot because it's so thin music, but for me it was very interesting, you know. Like a school, how can I do with the bass, and can I play with a symphonic orchestra with the bass, or with a jazz saxophone player, or an opera singer, or you know, I went through. So now it was time to make my rock album, the rock music there I belong.
Nice.
So this is more a rock album, more than heavy metal. So it's a rock album, and I had so nice musicians, artists, you can say, on it. Example, Janne Schaffer, the guitarist from ABBA.
Okay.
That's
from ABBA?
Yes.
Oh, ABBA. Wow. That's interesting. Okay.
That's interesting. And he is fantastic musician. And I had also Tony Martin, like I told you before, from Black Sabbath. He's there. I have of course, the nice musicians from Shadowside, Rafael Matos and Fabio Bullitvidas.
Yeah.
And they are phenomenal. So they have really the spirit. So I like to have them in this. And I have also a really nice guy in the band called Chitral Somapala. And he was the singer in Firewind and other bands. Wow. And he's a really nice singer and good experience. So the band is actually Chitral Somapala on voice, his singer, Mikael Erlandsson, the keyboard player. He was the singer and keyboard player in a pop band called Secret Service, and they are huge in Russia and these kind of countries.
Okay.
And then it's Fabio and Rafael and me. And the other ones is guests on the album. And I talk with everybody. So when it's when the possibility is there, everybody everybody who is in the album, they can join in certain shows, you know, and with Tony Martin on voice, and the guitarist from ABBA, and the heavy metal player from Brazil, and this mix is beautiful.
Wow, that's it. So there's a chemistry. It's a chemistry that's there. And this is the Magnus Rosen band. We're going to come back with Magnus and talk about his awesome experience that he does and plays in this orchestra in just a minute.
Outside Sweden. So let's help us. to make something special with this evening, all right? The next one's called The Metal Age. Trail of grief is marked with memory. Now, when I'm gone, all the sun seems so far away. I believe in everything I see. Every second is a miracle for me.
All right, this is Marky Z, and welcome back. I'm here with Magnus Rosen, all the way from Sweden, and what a awesome show so far, what we talked about, and I'm sure there's even more things we could talk about, but we only have so much time. But we're now going to talk about you even going to even a higher level, is playing your bass with an orchestra, which is a well-known orchestra. Let's talk about that.
That's a very nice experience. Do you know, I am not a bass player who went to the school. Nobody teach me really to play. It was few bass players in the town when I was 14, 15 that showed me to play a Rock 12 or these kind of things. And my first bass lines to play with an orchestra that is really professional. It's the Swedish National Orchestra.
Amazing.
That is super cool for a guy like me who is from the beginning a garage bass player. You know?
Yeah,
so,
that's a high level. That's high level when you could get in there with an orchestra and jam like that. That's the top. That's it.
I must tell you the truth. When you play with an orchestra, it's not at all like you play in a band.
No.
Because the conductor, he is really the boss. So when you cut the music and you have a pause, in the rock band, you can count. And you know, I always count to 3 or 4 or 2.
Sure.
But in an orchestra, you can't count because it's the conductor. So sometimes it's 5, maybe it's 10 beats. And when he take his arms down, in the first rehearsal, I was there right like he should hit the cymbal. You-
So
It
it
was
was a
only
challenge for
me.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was only me who sounded because 1 second later the orchestra come. Gah!
Yep.
So then I understand it. When it takes his arm down, it's not that I gonna play. I will come in a delay of 1 second or something.
Got it. Okay.
And
Wow.
when you rehearse with this kind of orchestra, it's really quick. You don't do like you do in the rehearsal room. You don't rehearse to it sounds good. It need to sound good directly. So you play through the songs. That's it. And I was so nervous the first time. I coming in there with my long hair, and I was the soloist, the bass, a bass player who is a soloist in
Yep.
this orchestra. That's cool and scary. So I told them before we start, because when you get nervous, you concentrate on wrong things. You start to concentrate.
Well,
If I play wrong, what will they think about me? And blah blah blah. So I need to handle that. So I
yep.
stand up and I told them, I'm so nervous. So I almost jump off my skin. So please don't be too hard at my playing.
Wow.
And, and
Wow.
when I say that, they open the arm to me, arms. So I felt they are there for me. They say, don't worry. And then we had 18 concerts together.
Wow.
And the biggest concert I did with them was the first concert we did. It was 100,000 people in the public and 150 million people at the TV. So
Wow.
around Europe, and it was a big opening. Almost too big, but it worked good.
But you did it. You did it. You took
Yes, I
on a
did.
challenge, even though it was scary. And you said, this is something new, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to,
Yeah.
just like the Vikings, man, ain't a fear of nothing. I'm going in. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to
Yes.
make it happen.
Yeah.
And you
So
did. And here's what 13-hour orchestra shows later. Unbelievable.
that's fantastic.
Yes, it
So
is.
after these 18 shows, I went to Stockholm to play 13 shows with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra
Wow.
because it worked so good. They opened the door for me in Stockholm too. So
So there you go. You got offered more. Awesome.
that's
Wow.
super cool. And after that, I asked the orchestra. I said, I will do a new solo album. Do you want to play on it?
Wow.
And they said yes. So I think it's the first solo bass album in the world with symphonic orchestra that the bass is the lead instrument.
You're right. I don't think I've ever seen that ever in my life of a musician, and I've been doing this for 30 something years myself. I've never seen it. So you're doing something that's totally unique and never been done, but you did it. That's
Yes,
something to
I
be very
think so.
proud of. How awesome is that? Wow, that's so cool. Well, let's end our show today with talking about, and it sounds like you already named some of these awesome shows you've already done. What do you think would be some of your most memorable times on stage? Which bands would it be? Let's say Hammerfall. Let's start with them. What was your favorite show? If you have, I mean, you've had more than one, but what would you say is one of your most favorite shows that you did with that band, Hammerfall?
Of course, it's really hard to say because
Yeah,
we played in almost 60 countries around the world, and
got it.
but of course we have great. I have great memories. Example
Right.
when in Bolivia or in Quito in Ecuador.
Okay.
Except in Bolivia, when you play in La Paz, you play on 4,200 meters. The altitude is so
Wow.
it's so way up in the sky, and there the air is so thin. So
Yeah.
for the show, they said, don't rock too hard, because then you will rock till you drop.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're gonna have to you can lose oxygen.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
need. We had this. If we felt we needed.
Got it. Wow, that's unbelievable. I never heard that before, but that's an interesting thing. Okay, and who would you say are some of your influences on bass? If we were to go through a few of them.
Yeah. Then I will say like this: it's so many great bass players out there. You are one of them, and for me, I be inspired about people who play from the heart. It's so many good bass players, so it's hard to pick one. I can pick hundreds, but the
Sure.
most important things is if you play with your heart and you really mean it. Then some people are brilliant here and brilliant there, but the magic thing is if you mean what you do. And the first bass player that touched my mind or my feeling was before I started to play, and it was Gene Simmons in Kiss.
Gene Simmons.
Yes,
Okay.
and I couldn't tell if he was good or bad because I was not the bass player at that time.
Right. You didn't know. Mm-hmm.
I loved him, and I he was a big influence for me to play the bass. So I will really lift my hat off
To Gene.
just to him, because he mean something to me
Sure.
when I was 14 years old, and I still love Kiss, of course, and all the other bands. Of course, I love Jaco Pastorius, Stanley Clarke, and many other bass players.
Wow. Okay.
You know, so
Fusion level players, jazz level players are the ones that are your heroes pretty much. And of course, Gene Simmons. And it's funny you mentioned Gene because on the way to here to do the show with you, we were listening to Detroit Rock City off of one of the Hammerfall albums. And I'm wondering if that was your idea. Let's do a cover of Detroit Rock City. Since you love Gene.
it could be. And sometimes, you know, when the magazine was writing,
Yeah.
they said, you are a weird mix between Gene Simmons, Steve Harris, and jazz player. So
Steve is my favorite bassist. I love Steve
Yeah.
Harris of Iron Maiden. He's definitely my influence without a doubt. One of my biggest ones.
Yeah.
Wow. Magnus, I'll tell you what, man. It was so awesome having you today on the show all the way from Sweden. I appreciate you giving us your time today. And it was amazing what we talked about. I mean, it seems like you got a fulfilling life as a musician. And because you have a great attitude, a great passion, and a great emotional feeling about what you do and love doing what you do, it all projects to everybody. Everybody feels that. And that's the reason why you have these opportunities come in your direction, because you open up the door because you're like, hey, I want to do this. I love this. And people can feel that. They can feel that vibration you're sending off. It's amazing. I could feel it just talking to you. It's a very positive whole entire interview. I could feel your vibration. It's great. But I'll tell you what, it was amazing having you on the show, Magnus. Thank you so much. I know it was a while we waited to get it here, but we did it. We got a good show. And I'm going to say I'm Marky Z with my partner, Rock Dude. Thank you for coming, and we hope to have you back someday. I'm out.
Konserter, utspelare, då brukar vi göra så här.